Welcome into the Command Center Draft Night Special, presented by SeatGeek. The most disruptive idea in ticketing? A ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek. Commanders family, welcome into Command Center on the clock draft special. Brian Cobra Jr. here with Super Bowl champion and future Hall of Famer Brian Mitchell.
Right.
Mr. 8 to the 9 Santana Moss and the prospect Professor Logan Paulson. Fellas, the Commanders are officially on the clock.
Righty.
We just saw a defensive back go. We are waiting to see who the Lions picked up in real time. Fellas, what a draft it's been so far, man. How y'all feeling? Let's get those initial thoughts.
You know, I think when you look at these drafts, a lot of times when people begin to not have the people, like certain positions they're looking for, you see a lot of big guys go.
Yeah.
D linemen, offensive linemen. Those guys solidify your football team.
Yeah.
They make the little sexy guys, make them even better. So I think they went that route because it was a lot simpler to take those guys than make a mistake on a skill
Six
possession.
offensive linemen
Yes.
to go in the first round so far.
Yeah, we said coming into tonight that it was like three guys that we knew for sure where they was going. Everybody else, we was just waiting to see.
Yeah.
And so it's been a surprise a bit, but when you say coming in, it wasn't that draft that we're going to get that, I guess you could say, those high-powered, skilled athletes out, in the first round going early. I kind of expected to have some, that lull time where you see offensive linemen and D linemen. So, it didn't surprise me a bit.
I mean, every year offensive linemen get pushed up boards, no doubt. And even though this is kind of a down year for the group, they are talented, right? And I think when you look at the defensive line specifically, I think we were kind of hoping as Commanders fans, some of those guys would take a little bit of a tumble, right? Hoping to trade for the quarterback, kind of pushing good football players down. But yeah, so it's interesting now because you're in this landscape where there aren't these kind of top flight football players. It's like, what is the right fit for the Commanders? So I'm really, really curious to see what this pick looks like.
Exciting. Some really big names up there. Let's name a few. Will Johnson from Michigan. We talked about him a lot. Hairston, Jahad Campbell, and Mike Green are all still on the board. Now, again, we have not heard who the Lions have picked yet. Of course, we had to mute the television, but we will get that information as soon as we have it. But, guys, a lot of talent on that board. We're going to talk about all that. Logan's going to break down some prospects. We're going to go out to D.C., see Fred and Jake's out with the fans. But first things first. NFC East rival, traded up to get a quarterback.
Yep.
Logan, tell us how you feel about Jackson Dart, because actually, you called that while we were off air.
Well, I think the thing about Jackson Dart, compared to Shadur Sanders, because I know Tano was talking about Shadur quite a bit, the thing about Jackson Dart is he's got a skill set that fits kind of that outdoor stadium at MetLife a little bit more. He's kind of that traditional quarterback body, the big arm. He's a competitive runner, a little bit more of an athlete. Think more Josh Allen in terms of kind of playmaking style. Obviously not that same level kind of dynamic athlete, but I think that's kind of what they're looking for. I think when Dayball looks at Dart, he sees a lot of Josh Allen in him, and he sees what you can do with those traits in terms of development. He's still got a long way to go. You know what I mean? It's not like he's there. I think that's why you pick him there with, the 26th, 25th pick, whatever it was. So I think that's something to keep in mind. It's like, everyone's really excited about a quarterback, but this is maybe not the year for him.
Is he good enough to go in there and be the starter this year?
Just based on the film, he's playing in this Lane Kiffin offense, which is spread out, it's RPOs, it's easy, low-stress throws. And so, again, it doesn't feel like it. He's got to learn how to read NFL defenses. But, again, we'll see what happens. So, yeah, really, really, really interesting.
Man, there is a lot of excitement to be on. Lions just picked Talik Williams, defensive tackle out of Ohio State, which means now we await to hear who the Commanders picked up. Now, you know what? Since we talked about Shadur, that is a big topic. B-Mitch, we talked a lot about this off air. Are you surprised at seeing a guy like Shadur, who was looked at as maybe the top prospect, still not being picked yet?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I think when you look at him and you look at a lot of the people around, he has the talent. He's very accurate. The guy has played one game. You can see that he's a mature guy, but they always seem to look for something else.
Yeah.
It happens, but I'll be totally honest. I think the reason he's sliding is because a lot of people are afraid to deal with his dad. And if he goes to wherever he goes and he has success, I hope every one of the people that slid because they were afraid. I think the Giants were afraid. They all don't want Shadur to come there because if things start going bad, guess who becomes the head coach? Deion. Dayball is out. They just going out. It's career. You're trying to save your careers. A lot of guys don't want to see those things, don't want to be challenged, and a lot of coaches don't want to coach. But the ultimate thing, we'll see how it goes here. And I'll say, slide. If he ends up on a better football team, that'll be easier for him.
I mean, he really has a chance to go on a team that's already ready to win, which is very impressive for a guy like Shadur, who we've seen what he can do with a good offensive line, with good weapons. Now, another person we have seen fall, I mentioned him earlier, Will Johnson. Now, Logan, me and you have talked about him a lot because I think coming into the season, if you would have told me Will Johnson was here, we're taking him, no questions asked, pairing with Mikey Sanderson. But you have mentioned that maybe that ankle injury might be a reason why he's falling down.
Yeah, I think him and a couple other guys here in this spot are kind of interesting in terms of why they've fallen. You know, Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State, kind of some character stuff that's kind of circulated around the process. We're not reporting any information. It's just kind of general from teams. Will Johnson, same type of thing, right? You know, he's coming off the injury. There was some speculation that he kind of wasn't as fully invested as people thought he should be in the season. And that football character stuff becomes really, really impactful in terms of the evaluation because people want to know, B and Tana, that you love football. Right?
Yes.
If you don't love football, man, a lot of people get taken off boards. Then you got Mike Green, who's got some kind of more serious allegations against him. So again, you see these guys falling. I know fans are probably like, "Oh my goodness, why aren't we picking this guy?" Or you know, we got to run this to the board. I think about what it is to be a commander. Yeah. Remember that when we're making this pick because that's something that, again, as an analyst, I'm kind of like these guys don't seem to quite fit. But there are a couple other guys that I think we should talk about for sure.
2 top defensive backs on the board right now that we talked about in the pre-draft show. However, 2 edge rushers as well as 2 big offensive linemen, fellas. All 3 positions we've talked about wanting to see the Commanders fill. Now that you've seen how the draft has played out so far, how are y'all feeling we're going to lean? Do you still feel like we're leaning towards that edge secondary, or do you think we'll make a splash?
As we said before, best player available.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in that position where they don't have to go edge rusher. They don't have to go offensive line. Yeah. They don't have to go DB. They can go with the best player at that position at that time when they get there to pick. So we're up now. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And Logan, when you look at these top defensive backs in Will Johnson and Harrison, because we talked a lot about them, do you have a preference? If they do go defensive back and you're looking at one of those guys being the top 2 guys left on the board, do you have a preference between the 2?
So obviously for me in this case, I'd probably go Trey Amos, totally different direction, or Savon Ravel from ECU, right? I think those guys kind of fit what it means to be a commander a little bit more. Like, do I like those players? Absolutely. But let's talk about the actual pick.
Brother, the pick is in. Fellas, the last chance for y'all to make y'all predictions. How y'all feeling right now, Beamish? Where do you think the Commanders go with the 29th pick? Because the pick is in, which means we didn't trade that bad boy.
Yeah. Defensive back.
Defensive back, huh?
I just got to feel.
Just got to feel, Tanner. What
I
you
hope
thinking?
my feel is right.
Yeah, you might be, Tanner. What you think?
Well, I'm going to say D-line.
D-line?
Edge rusher.
Edge rusher?
Yeah.
Edge rusher. That leaves what for you, Logan?
I think for me, just looking at my board, there's 2 players that I would kind of target. One is Nick Amon-Wari, and the other is Josh Connerly from Oregon. Those are my 2 highest graded players at the moment, barring some of that off-field character concern, so we'll see.
2 top 10 guys on the board right now, those offensive linemen that you named. Now, again, we will be waiting to hear the pick announced. As soon as the pick announced, we will react to it. We will send it out to DC with our guys, the Get Loud crew, hanging out with the fans. Logan's going to break down some guys. Fellas, it is crazy to think. Last year, we were in Detroit. The number 2 pick. Now we've been sitting around for hours waiting on the Commanders. But again, it is.
I'd rather be like this than I was last year.
It's a beautiful feeling. And again, I mentioned it in the pre-draft show, and it's something that rings true. And I think we're going to see it here with this pick. Adam Peters said it. We did all of our work in free agency. Yeah. We're ready to play today. Anybody else that they add is just extra value. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this, because again, 29, you could get you a star. You could get you a starter, or you get you somebody that you take the time to develop. It's a beautiful position to be in. And you see right now, they're showing on the screen the people we brought in. Debo Samuels, Laramie Tunsil, Javon Kinlaw, Will Harris. You checked the boxes you needed to check. Secondary, offensive line, special teams, all these different things that you were able to do. Very excited.
They're very happy
to
with
see
what's
our
going on
guys.
right there.
Now, I think that was an old. I don't know if that might have been present. I'm not sure. That looked kind of familiar. However, we do know those guys are in that draft room right now, and we are all anticipating things because Commanders family, we're going to find out in real time with you all. We do not get any extra information. We're not getting any little plugs. We're literally just waiting like y'all, sweating. My hands are hot. I'm so ready. But again, it's because when you have a general manager like Adam Peters, when you have a head coach like Dan Quinn, the hard stuff's done. You have your franchise quarterback. This is the fun part right here, how you build around the foundation you've already built. And fellas, I feel like we've built an incredible foundation. Fellas, it's just seconds away.
There we go.
It's so interesting for me because, again, we don't have it. So I'm talking while Roger Goodell is speaking. But I know my producers are going to let me know the minute the name is called. That's Josh Connerly. Logan, you called it. The fastest 10-yard split in the combine at 1.7. 6'5", 311 pounds, out of Oregon.
Big boys,
You get your
big boys.
big body. Last year in the second round, you bring in Brandon Coleman, an athletic big guy. Now you got another fast-footed athletic freak. Logan, I know you love this pick.
Yeah, I love this pick, and again, it's because of the athletic upside that you talked about. There's only a few guys in this draft class that I think could be starting caliber tackles in the NFL, and he's one of them. Now, he's a very technically sound player. He's got the arm length, 34 inches, the body weight, the athleticism you just talked about. Got to get a little bit thicker, got to kind of develop as an athlete in terms of dealing with bull rushers and things like that. But when you're looking at offensive linemen, think about the movement skills, right? You want that big, dancing bear of a man, and he definitely fits that bill, right? And so, again, there are other players on the board. People talk about Josh Simmons, for example, in this case. Josh Simmons had some character stuff that was circulating late in the process. This is a clean prospect, in my opinion. You talk about Commanders, a guy that can develop, a guy that fits your run philosophy. We pull tackles a lot. We pull guards a lot. And I think he does give you some flexibility in terms of playing inside, outside. And think about getting the best 5 on the field, man. Yeah. He is a talented son of a gun. And think athlete, man. Think again, he's not this player, but think about the best players at the position. Lane Johnson, Trent Williams, they're athletic. And I think he's got a little bit of that to his game. Again, got to thicken up, got to get a little bit stronger, but very exciting prospect.
So, Logan, when you look at a prospect like this, right, clearly he's a tackle, right? He sets the edge very, very well. He's very athletic. So when you look at what we have now, because you saw Brandon Coleman move around a little bit, we know Cosme's still recovering. How do you think he fits in? How does this affect possibly a guy like Brandon Coleman? Do you see him moving onto the inside and maybe getting that guard
So
spot?
what I think this does is it allows you to get the best 5 on the field, right?
There you go.
One of the things about him, Connerly, is that he can play inside. So can Brandon Coleman. So now all of a sudden we have a real competition. Let's get those best 5 guys on the field.
Yes.
Let's build that wall in front of Jaden Daniels. Let's be able to run the football. Let's get back to the Hogs mentality. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what I think this gives you, right? Think about that group, right? You've got all these think about Coleman. 10 RAS score, man. 10 RAS. And this guy's very similar. So, very exciting.
And we're going to hear from Tana and B. Mitch on this because we have a lot to talk about. However, you know it's all about our Commanders family, baby. And Jenks and Fred are out in D.C. with our Commanders family right now. Fred, how are the vibes? Were they going crazy? I see you still sweating. I got to imagine we feeling pretty good right now.
First of all, the whole building smell like bacon. Santana, B. Mitch, Logan, y'all understand when I say the guys smell like bacon. The last time we was a championship caliber team, the last time we won a championship, we had Dexter Manley, Charles Mann running the trenches. We had, the Hogs on offense, by the way. So now you're bringing another guy that can move people. Like I said, I'm going to name them the Ashburn Moving Company because that's all they're going to do is move people. What you think about that pick?
You know what I like? I like that, first of all, you're talking about bacon and Major Tutties here.
Yes,
one.
most definitely.
Number 2, I love the fact that at the end of the day, you cannot go wrong with protecting your quarterback going into his second season. So if you're talking about the Hogs of the old and building this O-line anew, then this is a good way to do it because you're talking about a guy who has a huge frame, a ton of potential. So, again, if you're protecting Jaden, you can get behind that.
Well, first of all, also, he's a huge man and a huge athlete. That's what you want. You want somebody that can move your feet. We saw what happened last year when we played against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's all about trench warfare. We addressed that today.
And you know what? The thing that we've, I think, noticed from the fans here is that there is a calm, like we can trust in a.
In
and
Peters, we trust.
That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes you don't have to second guess people. Understand, football is won in the trenches. We addressed the trenches in the offseason and free agency. Now we addressed it in the draft. I cannot wait to see what they do to people. I might call them IHOP, the International House of Pancakes.
Smoot's feeling good. Tutty's feeling good. Real quickly, what is Shedeur Sanders feeling right now? Because you've been in this position before.
I was there.
You expect to go in a certain slot, and then you fall back.
It's unbelievable how you feel. You're watching people go. Your name is there, best available. And you're watching people go and go and go. Anxiety starts to hit. You start to get a little anger. But I tell you what it does. It builds up something inside of you, and you'll be ready to play next year. You'll be ready to play some football.
It's been a great night here in Navy Yard. That's Major Tutty. That's Fred Smoot. I'm Jinx. Great listening to you guys, and another solid first-round pick for the Commanders. Let's get back to you.
Bacon!
Let's go!
That boy is crazy.
No better person to be out there.
Slice him up! Slice him up!
Smooth. Fred is telling you anything, bro. Fred will make you feel good about anything. But
He's about to make Major Teddy jump on the grill.
And fellas, but rightfully so, there's a lot of reason to be excited about this. All the things that Logan said, fellas, now that you've had the time to sit and reflect on this, B-Mitch, how are you feeling adding that size to the
I'm
offensive
happy
line?
about that because Logan was talking about having the best 5 available. We look at Dallas Cowboys. Go back to Washington when we won the Super Bowl last. Go to the Dallas Cowboys. Look at the Eagles right now. All those guys didn't play the positions that they're playing right now in the pros in college. So you get the best guys. Brandon Coleman can play right guard or right tackle. This guy can probably play guard or tackle.
Yeah.
When you begin to look at that, you get the best people on the field, and when that happens, you begin to move people.
Yeah.
You know, that's all that matters. It's not about, we got to draft this tackle and make sure he plays tackle. Those days are gone. It's about the best athletes at all times on the field.
First thing I saw when I saw his name come across the board, first I looked at Logan because he just calling everything.
He calling
everything. He talking offensive lineman, he talking what other teams getting. But when you think about when we played in that NFC Championship game and what we talked about all week long, how massive their offensive line was. Woo. So when you want to compete on that level, you know, you like Fred just talked about, trench warfare. You have to build your guys up inside to protect your asset. And our asset is our quarterback.
Yeah.
Now he was the most valuable player on our team last year on our offense. And when you building that franchise caliber team that we're trying to build, you go out and get guys like that. So I'm okay with, like I said before, the best available guy. If he was the best available guy, I'm with you, Adam Peters.
Yeah, and I think that's the best. I'm totally with you on the best available thing. But I also think like you got to play the teams in your division, right? And I look at Jalen Carter and how you deal with that awesome defensive weapon that they have there. You got to make these kinds of investments, right? And again, the draft board. I know a lot of people are kind of probably screaming for edge. The edges didn't fall the way we thought they were going to fall, right? And then there's all this character stuff around some of these athletes. And again, those aren't Commanders football players. We trust Adam Peters, right? We understand that they've done their due diligence. So I think this is a great pick, a very high floor pick, and someone that, again, when you talk about offensive football, they've made these explosive playmaking decisions on the perimeter, bringing in Deebo Samuels, right? They re-signed Zach Ertz. So now, hey, let's make sure that the quarterback can stay upright and we can throw the football and run the football at a very high level, because everyone talks about adding a running back, but running back production is directly correlated to offensive line play. So let's get that group really, really locked in. This is a pick that gets that done.
And Logan, to your point, the Giants just picked up Abdul Carter, so they might have the coldest defensive line in the NFL right now. So when you see that kind of stuff happen, you say, hey, listen, we got to protect our franchise guy. And we remember what it looked like when Jaden was barely getting touched, but then when the injuries happened, when he started getting touched a little more, we saw how that affected not only him, but our run game and our passing game as well. So great to have a guy like this. And now, Logan, offensive tackle, that's taken care of. Offensive line, maybe taken care of. Who are you looking at now? Because again, in the second round, tomorrow, the Commanders will be picking again 29th. I believe that's 61 in the second round. Where do you see that going? How do you see that playing out? Because we do not have a third round pick.
Yeah, so I think the beautiful thing about this class, and Tana pointed this out when we did our preview show, is that there's a lot of really good edge rushers, right? So there's Landon Jackson, there's Nick Scott. I think those guys probably go on the high end of the second round, right? But then you guys got like David Walker from Central Arkansas. Great pass rushing presence, right? You've got Olufemi Oladejo from UCLA, great edge rushers there. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. It's a very deep group. There's a kid from LSU, kid from Michigan, right? There's about 6 or 7 guys that I say fall in that second round range. So hopefully there's someone there at 61. If not, there's offensive playmakers, right? We got Henderson, running backs, like guys that can add a little bit of juice to this offense. But I think edge rusher, don't sleep on that. I think that's still a priority for this staff and for this team.
And B-Mitch, when you look at the moves the Commanders have made this offseason, right? You trade for Deebo, you trade for Tunsil, you get that blind side. Now your first pick is an offensive tackle. That is investing in your quarterback.
Totally.
That's investing in your franchise quarterback. How important is that for an ownership group, a coaching staff, to show that kind of support to such a young guy?
Well, it's very important because I think everybody looks at the fact and say you got to have a quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, if you get a quarterback and everybody else sucks, then the quarterback will suck. I think what they've done, they saw a quarterback come in, and he's far ahead of what you would think a rookie can be. Well, you know what? You make it a little easy on him. You get guys that protect him, and then now he can make even better plays. And then you get a guy like a Deebo Samuels, who's an insurance policy for quarterback, to be totally honest with you. This guy is going to be roaming around. He's going to be running a lot of flat routes, a lot of screen routes, and he can go the distance.
Yeah.
He's a physical specimen to where when you get him outside edge on a one-on-one battle, he's going to make people pay. So it makes it easier for Jaden. You have to help him out. Too many times I think people think you get the quarterback and it's over with, but you still have to build a football team.
Tanner, whenever I think of an offensive tackle, I think about you and Williams' relationship that you guys had back in the day. How important is that, man, when you have these linemen that you know you could trust to take care of your quarterback, to get things done? As a receiver, a lot of people don't think about that connection, but you had a very special connection. What was that like for you?
I think when you look back at some of the offensive lines that I played with, and you look at some of the quarterbacks, if we had better offensive linemen instead of just 1 or 2 guys, those guys could have went further. And so it's great to see us go out there and reach. And not only looking at this guy as being one of those guys who could come in and probably start soon, but he had depth. Yeah. We went through that little period last year where a lot of our guys got nicked up. And then if you think about it, who knows how the right tackle is going to be, for the future. So it's just great to see that we picked up a guy that now, Jaden can go out there and build that chemistry, not only with the young guy that he built with last year, now you have another young guy that's capable of being that guy, because we don't know how long Tunsil's going to be in the game. He's a little long in the tooth as well. So I'm just happy to see us going out there making some of these decisions that before we didn't make. I think we have the right guys, in the building to go out there and reach and do what we need to do. And look, we didn't have to reach, man. We got a guy that was sitting there waiting for us, and we just built our offense to be a little more better.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think the other thing that I would point to is, I think Cliff Kingsbury deserves a lot of credit for how he helped and insulated that offensive line last year. Keeping eligibles in, everyone thinks about the chip protection that he ran last year. Now we don't need to do that anymore. Let's get 5 eligibles out in routes. Let's stress that offensive line a little bit more. And again, we got to see how Connor Lee develops for sure, no doubt, and where Brandon Coleman falls. And there's still a lot of pieces that need to happen in this thing. But I think not only are you supporting Jaden, you're supporting the offensive coordinator and allowing them to get more dynamic in terms of how they can deploy the quarterback and the weapons. So I think this, again, just elevates the whole thing. And that's one of the things, one of the first picks we talked about way back when we started our draft coverage was offensive line at 29. And it feels like this is why. It's because it helps you actualize all this stuff.
He get it dig in that bag a little bit more.
Yeah, and if you could block with 5, and you got all those guys going out, that's stress on the defense. And then Jaden's being dangerous becomes even more dangerous. When you got 5 guys going out, and Jaden Daniels sitting back there, you better not turn your back on him. You're in trouble there.
And Logan, I think your point stretches a little deeper too, right? Because you look at Cliff Kingsbury, some people look at this and say, why didn't we go get a receiver or a running back, that special guy? But think about what Cliff was able to do with essentially guys off the street. He made things look good with Noah Brown, with Ozzie. So be optimistic that if you get a later round guy, Cliff Kingsbury is going to know what to do with that. And I think that has a lot to do with this decision making as well, Logan.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other thing we talk about Cliff, but talk about when you have a franchise quarterback, he elevates skill position players. I think that's what this also does. So.
And fellas, it's crazy to think. We done now. We've been sitting here for hours. We got some steak. We got some lobster tails. Shout out to the Get Loud crew for being out in D.C. with the people, man. Shout out to Get Loud crew. You can check them out every single Friday. An amazing, amazing podcast. Now, we are going to take off. However, stay tuned because we will be having an exclusive interview with General Manager Adam Peters to talk all about this decision making and what's next in the 2025 NFL Draft. For Logan Paulson, Santana Moss, Brian Mitchell, Fred Swoop, Mike Jenks, we out of this thing. We will be back live for another pre-draft special at 6 p.m. as we preview the 2nd and 3rd rounds. The Commanders currently hold 1 pick tomorrow. However, things can always change, as we know. For your Command Center crew, for our amazing producers that stayed here late, worked really hard, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all, Commanders family. We'll holler at y'all tomorrow at 6 p.m. We out.